Hey there, future me. It's currently a Wednesday. Yeah, it's a Wednesday morning. I guess as usual schedule. It's a quote unquote morning. It wasn't morning like I guess 2 hours ago now. Like my computer says it's only been like under 1 hour, but it's actually 2 hours where I currently am. I'm not at my apartment. I'm in a hotel. I'm in Washington D.C. attending like the funny like leadership summit thingy, I guess. So that's pretty cool. We're going to do our like congressional visits tomorrow, so I get to meet with I guess the staffers of representatives and senators and talk about like, physics is like good actually, and this is a nonpartisan issue. Physics is good for everyone. Who would have thought? I guess I'm looking forward to it, but I'm also not really sure what to expect. I think there's a chance that my faith in democracy could be seriously tried. Just in the sense that I don't know, like I think it will go well, but I also don't really know how to present myself. I just don't really know what to expect, especially with a lot of the recent weird stuff going on with like the attempts, I guess, to stymie like federal grants and all that stuff for, I suppose, like a culture war. I'm not entirely sure. But all of this is besides the point. This isn't a this isn't like a commentary channel, is it? So what's happened, I guess, since the last time I recorded an audio, which was about 2 weeks ago. Well, I was supposed to like write this proposal, right? Or I was supposed to draft up this proposal, and well, yeah, I haven't. I haven't been doing a great job with that. Like I had sat down and I guess put some time into it, but also didn't really put enough time into it. I think I wasted a lot of time just like not really. Well, I wasted a lot of time playing video games and trying to get back into it. And that's kind of a it's kind of a bummer. I had a meeting with Prof on like Friday where it was just kind of like I told him I would have like 4 pages of material by like what like was I think it was Wednesday. Yeah, like Wednesday, and then at that point in time I still didn't have like anything to. I had like what 2 pages at most, and like because there were some segments that had yet to be fully elaborated, he was kind of like, "All right, Green, look, um, you should keep working on this. And you just have to write more, man. You can't get in your head and all that stuff." And so I guess I find myself at a bit of a what I find myself at one of those points to where it's like, dang, because I didn't tell him like, I wasted all my time playing video games and going to sleep late and like not working on like the proposal and all that stuff. Because I guess like I guess I was trying to save face, which isn't great, right? Like whenever you just try to save face because you don't have anything good to say or you can't even say that you like tried your best, that's when you know that I guess like something is wrong. Um, Geez, I guess this is a bit of a shift, huh? Um, I guess this is like the main thing that's on my mind. I mean, currently I'll be in like DC for like a while, right, until like the weekends, flying back on like Saturday and stuff. So I got like some time to, I guess, take even more time off not writing the draft, but then also like should like go back and like approach the draft again, right? So I guess I'm just trying to think about how to approach it. I'll bring up more, I guess, lighthearted stuff like as closing remarks probably, or just freestyling as usual. So I suppose there's like two. I'm gonna give myself two pictures, right, for future me to really, really think about. So the first picture I'd say is the charitable picture. The charitable picture, right, which is trying to be more and more generous to me right now, is that, oh, well, I'm just getting back into things, right? Break was like for almost a whole month. I basically didn't do anything. I like took time off, and now I'm trying to get back into the system. And now, like having passed candidacy, like that's kind of like gotten besides me. So now I need to like just kind of like gradually get back into it. Um, and maybe the reason why like I haven't spent that much time actually trying to attack the proposal directly is because I've been struggling with like fitting the I guess the voice that a proposal is supposed to possess. It feels like looking at the sample proposal like of my office mate, I'll like find a tag for him at some point in the Greenverse. Not right now. We'll figure it out later. But like his was like very a lot more technical, and looking at like just proposals as a whole, they all seem to have a lot more technical language. Whenever I was writing the thing for my candidacy, it was technical, but it had a lot more like math, and it had a lot more like, oh, what is like a so and so actually, whereas like stuff like that in the proposal won't fly because one, you're short on pages, and two, like it's people who read it are already going to be, well, more seasoned than you, right? So like whereas in candidacy I was kind of banking on like, oh, okay, well like the two guys who are not in like my subfield will probably want more context, and this is good for me anyways because I need to know more context. This isn't gonna cut it in the proposal, and so I don't really know like what I guess I'm not really sure like what is good for the proposal, like what I should like what I should mention. But I also am aware that for the proposal, it's still going to be reviewed by like people not like caught up with I guess like the current meta of like the subfield, right? So you still need to introduce like the overarching, yeah, the overarching problems, but like when it comes to like methods and stuff, there's no point in like elaborating on like I don't know like how a Monte Carlo thing works exactly, but at least like briefly mentioning like the specific gimmicks of this particular Monte Carlo and then going from there. So there's just a lot of like it's just a different style that I haven't gotten used to. Like a prof wanted me to write an abstract that would eventually go on to like the one of like the government thingies or like that's the plan for it, and like I was having a really hard time because I felt like my abstract was too long, and he kept saying like you should make it longer and you should be more detailed and you should like add this thing that doesn't make it seem like you should add something where we have to make a second code and make it not seem like an afterthought. And it was kind of like, well, if we have if out of the four tasks that we have, we have three tasks, one of three of which use one code and one of which has to require making a second code. The thing that requires a second code sure feels like an afterthought, but that's kind of just a skill issue, right? Because the greater vision is kind of like, oh, well, we want to match like this thing, but we can also like match like this even more recent thing, and that's kind of like, overall, this fits like the greater vision of like we just want to, match what we see. This is the classic of, we make the simulations to model the things that we see. Who would have thought? But I don't know how to express that in a formal manner or to sufficient length, right? So I don't know. I guess this is the does this conclude the charitable picture? Maybe, yeah. Like, so this is just kind of the what, like, that's just kind of how things are going. So then we can shift from the charitable picture to the not so charitable picture, the more self-critical picture. Um, of just like what the hell am I doing? If you had a month off, right, you should be able to jump right back into it. If anything, like you said over the break that you were going to do a lot more things than you ended up doing over the break and you didn't hold yourself accountable. You sent out a few emails here there. You did look at like a few things, but it like wasn't enough. So you should be trying to equalize that and you should be trying to step up more. The thing is what I am telling myself right now is that like, okay, so you're saying that you're having a hard time, writing, I guess, you're having a hard time figuring out how to write in a different voice. Well, you also had a hard time figuring out how to write when it came to your candidacy, and you still wrote that candidacy paper, didn't you? It's like, huh, yeah, I guess so. So, you just have to, you know, vomit, right? Or effectively, you just have to start throwing things out and like chucking things out there, right? And then going from there. This is something that like, and I think this is a skill that I should have developed like at an earlier time, but I guess I just haven't gotten to that yet. The process of actually making drafts. So this sounds kind of silly, right? Because I know if I think back to middle school and high school and undergraduate and even like graduate with prof, right? Like there was always something to where like we would have to make first a rough draft and then we would make a final draft. I think the issue is that my rough drafts were always very, very, very close to my final drafts, and then well, there's not really much revision there. I remember like in high school, like whenever I had to write my first term paper, my quote unquote rough draft was just like a skeleton of like a few bullet points, and then I would just like write elaborate things on each one. It would just all string together. And I guess I did well enough to pass, and I guess like I did well enough to get by like the non-major humanities courses, right? But it's not like I don't think this wasn't a good habit to pick up, right? Like this was if anything, a detriment, right, over time because I never really learned to like first like really just like write everything out, not just bullet point, not just skeleton, but like put everything out there and then take a step back, right, look at it again and then like restructure it, revise it, like reframe things and move them around. Because a lot of it right now is this like weird perfectionist, like, or not perfectionist, like pseudo perfectionist thing of like, I'm gonna write a sentence. That doesn't sound right. I'm gonna delete it and then write it again that doesn't sound right, right? And then like just doing that over and over and over again until I eventually get bored and give up and like go watch like some videos or play some video games or like just go hang out with some friends. And then late at night, whenever I'm like realizing, oh man, I actually have to do this, in the great like from the depths of despair, or like within my greatest like moments of insight, I pull out like what I think to be like a literary nugget of wisdom, and then I can just like, slap that on there and be like, bam, we did it, right? Look at that sick transition sentence. Look at that sick like non-bifurcated thesis. Look at this, like it's so clean. The citations just all come together. But that's like I don't think this is going to cut it, right? This is we're playing a very different game now, right? We're not playing something to where we're trying to write for prose, we're trying to write to inform. And I guess like maybe this could have been said right with these like term papers back then, but I suppose my teachers previously were more lenient because they were aware that I was a bit more youthful, right? But now like in the world of like us like big business and government funding and all that stuff, assuming that it, it still exists, uh let's not worry about that too hard. Yeah. Um, like all that will be you got to be a bit more cutthroat. You got to be a bit more like terse. I don't know, precise, right? Like there's no need to do fluff. There's no need to make like eloquent transition sentences. This isn't going to sound like a business report. Like, or no, this isn't going to sound like, some story. It's going to sound more like a business report. There's just going to be a bunch of things. And so it's okay to actually have like bullet points to some degree as long as each bullet point is like um like pretty elaborate, I guess. Like, so the current strat, like, which I figured out like on Monday, like, which was I flew out like yesterday, right? Was just to okay, so if I'm having a hard time adding in like transition sentences and all that stuff, I don't really think those guys care. So what if I just like put yo dog, I heard you like bullet points, so I put bullet points inside your bullet points. Um, and so like that might, or I hope that helps a bit. But I think the most important thing is that I just spend more time doing it and just like chipping away at it because it it's just one of those ones. Like I feel like this could just be like some weird like suffering from success thing of where like I've never really had to like write a draft or work on something to a length to where I wouldn't be able to like finish it in one go, or if I were to produce a rough draft, it would be very like shoddy. I mean, I'm saying all of this like what's strange about this is that I'm saying all of this given that like candidacy was like what like I started writing the thing probably like October, so like yeah, 3 months ago, and I still like, and it's almost as if I've just like forgotten about all of it, or it's like somehow it's like despite having done something that I would think is similar, or like I can think that it's similar, but I don't feel that it's similar, and that's kind of like, man, why is that? That kind of sucks. So I might just be like in my own head or psyching myself out, but yeah, I don't know. Like, what originally the deadline would have been like the Wednesday after this week, which means that I would have been like giga cooked, right? Because I don't even have like a first draft for prof to look at and like revise heavily, right? Because this is a lot more serious, whereas the candidacy thing is just kind of like internal. You throw your citations in there, and it just kind of like you don't worry about it too much. This is kind of like the hmm acceptance rates are 10%. A lot of people are applying, few people get it. Seems like you really got to be on top of your game. I'm not, to be honest, I don't really think, unlike my office mate who succeeded, I don't think I'm going to make it for this one just because, like, I think I'm still too green. He said the word he's still too green. Like, I think I'm still too new to all this stuff, but that shouldn't stop me from like trying my damnedest, right? But I'm not like I guess I'm not trying my damnedest yet, which isn't great. Like it's almost as if I've kind of like fallen back into the mindset of like, I'm just like playing with house money. Like I've already made it so far. And that's like although like while that's not like a bad like mentality to have in some things because it usually means that you like don't feel like as stressed, I guess. Like it's also maybe you don't like fully tap into your potential or your full potential, right? So that's not great. I don't know. It's just kind of I think it's good to capture this moment or well, this period, I suppose, because it's just kind of the Well, we have two pictures, right? We can have a picture where I'm easy on myself, which I do kind of tell myself sometimes, but I also do have another picture where I'm more hard on myself, which I do tell myself sometimes. But I guess regardless of like these pictures and things in which I tell myself, what really matters is what I do, right? I can tell myself these pictures as much as I want, I can reassure myself, I can yell at myself, but if I don't actually sit down and write the thing, then it stays unwritten and I'm just throwing in real time, right? Like I figure Prof wouldn't be too happy. I guess if any, actually maybe he wouldn't. Like, hey, that's less work. I don't have to write like the mentor agreement and all this stuff, and I'll know that like Green's taken it like a bit easier in his career. But I, I don't know. I don't really want to throw the towel in just yet. But at the same time, if I don't really actually like sit down and do it, then I'm just kind of baiting, aren't I? There's only so much time in the world, and there's only like um yeah, there's only so much time in the world, and there's only like so much like time that I can allocate towards things. Like as much as Steel Soling Hollow Knight was pretty sick though. Uh, um, but I don't know. I guess I just wish I was at least more efficient with like how I would write too, because I think if I put the time spent into writing, like actually just barfing out all the things that came up in my mind and just not really worrying about prof thinking like, bro, you just said something incredibly wrong. What do you mean? Right? Or like, dude, you completely missed the citation, or dude, this is like factually inaccurate. Right? Like, if I didn't really worry about that too much, then I think I would progress a lot faster, at least for his standards, because he wants to see like the overall like can Green revise this to the point to where it looks sensible, right? So I need to like not psych myself out and try to make like like an already serviceable product for Prof. But I don't know. It does feel like in a way I might just be like this could just be the pseudo perfectionist thing once again, right? Where I'm psyching myself out and it's like I don't really care if Prof doesn't see it. Like this is my work. I want my work to be good. And it's like, well, man, like you can make your work good, but you also don't have time for that. Like, you should be glad that the deadline got extended by like, well, 3 weeks. Um, so yeah, I don't know. Like, it's just it's a bit annoying given that I've been here or that I was like in a similar position like a little over a month ago, and it somehow like got itself together, but it still was like barely across the line, and now I'm re-encountering the same thing, but it now is kind of like more because somehow not as many things like because the stakes are not as high in terms of failure being like completely like uh-oh, it's where we're super cooked, bros, right? Like because I don't feel that, I don't really feel like the heat, which isn't good, you know. So I gotta be a bit more disciplined there. I figured this audio will be a little bit funny because I'm recording it through like a smaller headset, like the headset that I usually use, like the little ear things on it are kind of like scraping off, so I didn't really want to throw it in my backpack. Um, but yeah, I guess I have to figure out how to, or well, need to refigure out how to tie a tie in like what? So it's like 2 right now. I probably should need to wake up at like 7:30, like 5.5 hours or so. Probably should like just wake up at 7 so I have more time to figure this out. I don't botch it. I'm hoping that like the staffers who are about my age like are a bit more lenient on physicists. Maybe they assume them to be more scraggly in nature. Um, but yeah, I guess that's all I got for now. Got to get back on the ball. Got so many things I got to do. So just got to get back into the rhythm of it, right? Well, future me. See you then.